Emergency Buckeye Talk. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com along with Stephen Means. Some big news on this Friday night. It's been a rough week for Ohio State fans, right? You know, the loss to Michigan last week. And then within a week of that, Quinn Ewers news comes out that he is planning to enter the transfer portal. Ohio State has confirmed that he's planning to, that he has not formally done that yet. But Pete Thamel from Yahoo was the first to report that Ewers is going into the portal and that his most likely destinations, or at least the one to the top of the list right now, are Texas, Texas A&M, or Texas Tech, which doesn't surprise you because he's from Texas. And Stephen, I guess just your initial reaction when you saw this news. I was actually in the short north where you live. You were somewhere in the short north, but not at your home. We were both in the middle of other things, and this is not what you always expect to fall in your lap on a Friday night. But I don't think it's not the first time a Quinn Ewers related thing has fallen in our laps on a Friday night, from what I remember.
No, last time we were literally in the middle of potting, and I just happened to be listening back a couple of days ago, and I was just like, Doug was talking, and I just went, "Can we stop?" Quinn Ewers just committed to Ohio State.
That was a live pod, and if this had been, if we had a live pod going on tonight, it might have been the one that got us canceled from just the reaction that I would have had. But just this is not necessarily a shock, but the timing of it was surprising.
Yeah, I don't know if the word shock is the right word. But it's some word out there. It's just we had been getting texts for the last couple of months here about, hey, is Quinn going to leave every time any little rumor got thrown out there? And you and I both had constantly been on, no, he's not here to play football. He's here to make money. Not understanding that meant a lot of other things other than just he's not. It literally meant he was not here to play football. He was here to make money. Technically speaking, he is supposed to be participating in signing day in 12 days, if we're going to be honest about how this is actually supposed to be going. So it's shocking from the sense of, because he wasn't here to play football, everything that Ohio State told him about how this was going to go, since like they couldn't tell him no, it went the right way. He was here to make money. They tried to get him reps here and there and just try to bring him along slowly. And if there was an opportunity to get him on the field, then they'd give him that. And that came to play when Jack Miller got suspended, and all of a sudden he was QB3. So you see him get in there for the Michigan State game. But nobody was really expecting this year to count for anything, and that he would actually start his process in January when they started winter workouts. So this is kind of catching everybody off guard a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the one who has said as much as anybody that I wasn't that much on alert, other than there were the rumblings that were out there. But I wasn't that much on alert about it, at least from the standpoint of like Ewers feeling dissatisfied by how things had gone so far. That never really would have made much sense to me, because again, as you said, and as we've said all along, the plan wasn't for him to be playing football anywhere in college this fall. And he had to have known, like, I think eyes wide open about what the situation was at Ohio State, and to be transferring that close to the season. And Ryan Day has been adamant this whole time that he wasn't ready to play real college football, at least until they sort of had, they put him in there for a couple of handoffs. That's going to be the extent of the Quinn Ewers experience at Ohio State. Like, all of the visions that fans probably had of him spraying the ball all over the field, and it's going to be 2 handoffs at the end of a 56-7 game. And that's the extent of it. But when those rumors were first coming around, I remember texting to people that if it was playing out that way, after just a few months, Ewers decided to move back home and enroll somewhere and play in Texas, which it sounds like might be the plan for him to do at this point. Like, I don't know what Ohio State was supposed to do about that. That it's certainly, I'm not arguing that it's necessarily Ryan Day's plan working. In fact, you would have to say it's not. Like, this is the first like big chink in the armor of this progression that he had put together. But at the same time, like, if the kid is homesick, or if the kid just wants to be back in Texas for whatever reason, feels drawn to go back there, and especially if you consider that we have no reason to believe that CJ Stroud might not have still been the best quarterback for this team on opening day 2022. So Quinn Ewers isn't guaranteed playing time next fall, nor was he ever. Even if he had stayed in the 2022 class, that was never a guarantee with CJ Stroud and Kyle McCord both here. So I guess it's one of those things where you look at it as frustrating if you're an Ohio State fan, I'm sure, and you look at it from a frustration standpoint if you're Ryan Day and Corey Dennis, because it was a big deal to get Quinn Ewers. I don't know that I consider it a big like failure on their part, but the problem is that because they insulated themselves a little bit by getting one guy in every class, and there's gonna be a really good quarterback here regardless, but that quarterback is gonna be judged against whatever Quinn Ewers is doing on the other side of the country.
I don't know. I think I might be looking at this differently because I don't know if this is the plan not working, because let's just take away I understand the perfect rating and all that, and we have to get it. That's why we're doing an emergency pod, because it's a kid with a perfect rating. But for all intents and purposes, the plan still technically worked. You have your 2020 quarterback in CJ Stroud. You have your 2021 quarterback in Kyle McCord, he's not. It doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. No one feels like he's going to be leaving, even though we all said we feel like he might leave till June. That was back when Quinn Ewers was still in the room. There's no feeling that he is going to be leaving the room. So like at worst, you have a situation where you've got a 2020 quarterback who was a top 50 recruit. You've got a 2021 quarterback who was a top 50 recruit, and you've got a 2022 quarterback who was a top 50 recruit. So from that standpoint, the plan still works in the sense that go get a highly rated quarterback every year. It's just everything about Quinn Ewers' situation, basically since the moment he decommitted from Texas and it was clear he was headed to Ohio State, has thrown a wrench in all of Ohio State's quarterback recruiting plans. And it's almost, I don't want to call it a blip because it's a pretty huge blip, but that's what it is at this point, is this huge blip. And I don't know that everything the quarterback here is going to be judged by everything Quinn Ewers does. I think it's everything Quinn Ewers does is going to be measured by what happens here. Because if Ohio State, it's almost like the conversation of, would you have rather just had Joe Burrow, or would you rather have a year of Dwayne Haskins and 2 years of Justin Fields? It's the same conversation there. If you're getting 2 years of CJ Stroud and then whatever number of years with Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, and Quinn Ewers goes to Texas or Texas A&M or any Texas school, and he's good, but he's not, what people put on this rating, this perfect rating, then I think Ohio State is clearly fine in that situation. I just think because it's 1-0-0-0-0, it's a bit of a big time reaction that we're getting right now from it. But I think Ohio State is still fine.
I should have said this up front. We are really talking through this in kind of real time right now. This is a true emergency podcast. Doug is indisposed at the moment, but he will be joining us for a Buckeye Talk that goes up, a podcast that goes up Saturday morning. So if you hear this on Friday, know that there will be another one up first thing Saturday morning. At least that's the plan as Steven and I are talking right now. I don't know. I guess... But the only reason why that scenario that you were just mentioning came up is because Joe Burrow went somewhere else and was a god and won a national championship and had like the greatest season of all time. And if you think that's in the cards for Quinn Ewers, because otherwise nobody would be judging the quarterback play at Ohio State against Joe. Nobody at Ohio State was judging the quarterback play at Ohio State. Nobody anywhere was judging the quarterback at Ohio State in 2018 against what Joe Burrow did at LSU in 2018. Nobody was, because he was just a guy. And you had Dwayne Haskins here setting records, and then Justin Fields is coming in behind that, and people are like, well, here we go. But then only because Joe Burrow did what he did in 2019 we've had conversations on the podcast about it. A lot of people have. It became a debate. So that's what I think is sort of sitting out. I almost think this is it's two separate questions. It's like there's the unfulfilled promise of what Quinn Ewers could have been at Ohio State with Ryan Day, with the receiving core that they keep bringing here, et cetera, and what does it mean for Ohio State's quarterback room? I think those are almost two completely separate conversations to have, and they have to be separate conversations now, because once Ewers removes himself from the conversation, then he's not involved in 2020 anymore. 2022, I should say.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And it's a NIL, just like I said, that's the wrench here, is the NIL portion of this, because if NIL doesn't exist, this is probably more of a Quinn Ewers flip to Texas conversation than a Quinn Ewers is transferring or Quinn Ewers decommitted from Ohio State, and we're still having the same conversation. But because there's a money element involved in it, it just changes the word we're using here. But either way, we'd probably be having an emergency pod if NIL didn't exist and he was just another member of the 2022 recruiting class and he just flipped somewhere. Actually, that makes it worse. If NIL doesn't exist and he's just your quarterback in 2022, you don't feel the need to go get Devin Brown. And if he decides to decommit, then you're really scrambling for a quarterback in that class. And we're really questioning the Ryan Day plan, if the Ryan Day quarterback recruiting plan works or not. So this actually kind of made it, I don't want to say smoother, but it brings more clarity now that you're removing the Quinn Ewers situation from that room.
Doug has informed me that he is back home, so we are going to switch over and start recording our one for Saturday morning, our Buckeye Talk for Saturday morning. I hope for those of you watching us on the YouTube channel, go to wherever you find podcasts. If you're not already a Buckeye Talk listener, we'll have much more to say about this in depth with the three of us. But real quick before we go, Stephen, does this make it easier, in air quotes, easier for Ohio State to find to lure a 2023 quarterback now that Quinn Ewers is not in the picture?
Yeah, real quick here. No, I think it just puts you back at square one where he can still just go, we're going to skip 2023 and focus on Jaden Davis in 2024 because you've still got the 2022 quarterbacks because Devin Brown committed here. Had Devin Brown not committed and Quinn Ewers transferred, then I would say yes, they'd probably go heavy into getting Nico Eam. Yeah, but no, it doesn't change anything for how they're approaching it
but
in 2023, and it doesn't make it easier either.
They don't skip classes. They go find somebody.
Right. So I don't think it makes it easier or harder. It just, now you've got a 20. Yeah, it's just 2020. It's a 2020 guy, 2021 and 2022, and now 2023.
And just to real quickly reset the room, CJ Stroud already, the presumptive returning starter, Kyle McCord competing with him in the spring. We think. No indications yet that McCord would be thinking about leaving earlier than that. I think there's a great benefit to both of them competing into the spring. It makes both of them better players. And McCord may want that chance to be, to go compete for this job when it's not his first, couple weeks and months on campus. And then, like you said, Devin Brown, who just committed earlier this week, now slots in behind that. And we think that especially because McCord's got some hard questions to ask himself and some things to figure out here. And it's a tough spot to be in, but it's also a spot that has good upside for him. So regardless of whether he stays at Ohio State or not. So we think that might mean Ohio State has to go look in the transfer portal for an additional body to give themselves some insurance, but I wouldn't expect a huge impact arm in that regard. We'll see how that goes. Get the text 614-350-3315. That's how people we're hearing about this from us first tonight. It's how you will hear about the next development from us first at Buckeye Talk.